Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by Toyota, a real run on relievers started by the Cubs, but did they do enough before the blitz for relievers, or are they going to regret one that maybe got away? And what the heck is going on with Kyle Tucker and free agency? CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by our friends at Toyota. Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopoulos with you on a sunny Wednesday in Chicago. Is it June?
Toasty, baby. Toasty 44.
Feels nice. The snow's melting. Sarah's running the 1s and 2s.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs. There it is. I love how she always jumps in with the quiet. Go Cubs.
Bing.
They haven't made any moves.
No, well, we are talking relievers. The Cubs kind of started the run on relievers yesterday. We will get to that. We will also talk a little bit about the Cubs Hall of Fame ballot that's coming up. 2 names that I would assume have to be voted yes. We will talk about Kyle Tucker. What the heck is going on there? What else are we going to talk about today, Joey? Well, let's talk about finalists for Imai. One report says. Is that going to happen for the Cubs? So we got plenty to talk about. Hi to everybody in the live YouTube chat here at the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger, and then tell the total stranger's neighbor. I do want to point out that tonight is the drawing for $1.2 billion.
It's been fun working with you, Luke.
And I did get a ticket on the way to work. And if I'm not here tomorrow, it's just because Corey and Brendan do the show on Thursday. But if I win, it's also because I'm flipping the bird to everybody.
Yeah.
Not necessarily you guys, but everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
So
if I win $1.2 billion, you will not see me on the interwebs ever again.
Question for you. When you buy a lottery ticket, are you the type of person that shoves it in your pocket and doesn't look at the numbers?
I do not look at the numbers.
Or do you look at the numbers and try and manifest?
No, in this case, I'll look at the Powerball number, because if you don't have that, what do you really have?
Sure.
So sometimes I'll look at that and be like, hey, is that one of my lucky numbers? Ooh, is this a good one? I didn't look at this ticket at all. Just washed my hands of it, and I'm just waiting for the internet to tell me the ticket was purchased in Arlington Heights. And then I start streaking. Right down the road. Whether or not I'm the guy in Arlington Heights or not,
And then it's like news reporters and cameras rush to the Stuckmeyer household, knock on the door, and they're already gone.
Gone. We've left. The
Long
house
gone.
is empty. So anyways, that's the side. I just want to let everybody know if that happens, that's what's going on. Could be multiple reasons why I'm not on tomorrow.
I would hope you'd come in just one time and just sort of throw your weight around a little bit. Just come in a mink coat a little bit, drop your stuff down, flash a little cash. Just come in with a wad and just slip everyone $20 or $100 like we're valet all of a sudden.
Listen, first of all, I would never buy a fur, but and not because I'm some big PETA person or something. I just wouldn't buy a fur, but I did do a Sports Talk Live in a fur coat once.
Really?
Yeah, at the United Center lobby, it was freezing cold in there. It was like one of these 20 below, and I had to host Sports Talk Live, and somebody walked in and was wearing a giant fur coat. I'm like, hey, you going to be here all show? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what's that feel like? And they just gave me the jacket, and I wore a brown fur for the entire show. Anyways.
People coming up asking you for drugs, and you're like, no, you're misunderstanding.
No, it's not me.
I'm not that kind of person.
I'm not that guy. So under my Brad Keller, 2 years, $22 million. We wondered if the Cubs would find a way to bring him back. I don't think there was a more valuable buy low guy that the Cubs had last year, like a non-roster invitee to spring training last year. And by the end of the season, in the postseason, he's closing games. Like Brad Keller we talk about reclamation projects. The Cubs turned him around. And they turned him around in 1 year, and with their help, he's now got $22 million. He ought to send some of that cash to the Cubs. But my question is this. He apparently, according to Bruce Levine, wanted 3 years. Okay, understand. Who wouldn't want 3 years?
Go for
right?
it, yeah.
But is that window where he had this 4 miles an hour uptick in his velo, would that have been enough for you to match the Phillies 2 for $22 million?
So,
or be in that ballpark?
Yeah, so let's just start the conversation with undeniable that we said it on many shows that Brad Keller was the MVP of the bullpen last year. A bullpen that started off very rocky, kind of fell apart, was in shambles. We were worried, oh no, is this 2023, 2024 all over again? Rebounded and then became a really strong unit by the end of the year. So he was the MVP of the bullpen last year. My question is he the most irreplaceable player in that bullpen, though? That part I'm not so sure. Congratulations to Brad Keller. 2 years for $22 million. That's awesome. If the Phillies think that he's going to be a multiple inning spot starter and they're going to stretch him out into a long man, I think that's great value. If he is a 7th or 8th inning guy, the role that he mostly had with the Cubs last year, $11 million. I don't know if I'm freaking out about it, maybe the way other Cubs fans are. The other bottom line about that is I think he had a 2.06 ERA. He was so fantastic last year that at one point in the year, I was actually secretly rooting for him to give up a run already because he had gone 24, 25, 26 scoreless innings. I was like, dude, get this out of the way so you can get back to the good stuff when the postseason came around. So I'm happy for Brad Keller. He totally cashed in $11 million a year. If you're telling me if you're matching that up with him or Pete Fairbanks, one of the remaining closers still on the market, I'm probably picking Pete Fairbanks. And I am not losing sleep over the fact that bullpens are incredibly volatile. Tanner Scott is a great example of that, getting a big contract and not even being very good. He could be good this year, but it's a year-to-year thing with bullpens. So I wish Brad Keller well, but Luke, man, I'm not freaking out about this, man. I'm staying very firm that I want a bat and I want a starting pitcher. If we lose out on Brad Keller for $11 million a year, maybe that's the price of doing business.
The other thing was whether or not he'd be marketing or accepted by a team as a starter.
Right.
Like he used to be a starter. Cubs convert him to the bullpen. He gets this uptick. They help him. And all of a sudden, even he's like, wow, I'm almost throwing 100 miles an hour. Like, what's going on here? It worked. It worked brilliantly last year. It was one of the best moves that Jed Hoyer has made. No question about it. Like, ultimate reclamation project. If he's going to be a starter, because they do have Wheeler out for a little while, I could see why it maybe does work for the Phillies, but that also could have played for the Cubs. You could have used him as a starter early in the season and filled that void while Steele is out. And depending on how it goes, you either keep him in one of those roles or then you shift him back to the very expensive 7, 8, 9 guy. The question is whether or not all of the innings that he threw last year are going to impact him this year. Is he going to be that same guy? Will teams figure him out? Listen, I don't disagree that I would rather have Fairbanks at that price, but that seems to be kind of the going rate for relievers right now that went off the board. Luke Weaver just went to the Mets today for the same exact price, 2 for $22.
Another guy on the Cubs' radar.
The Yankees lost both Weaver and they lost Devin Williams, both to the Mets. But 2 for $22, would you rather have Weaver or Keller?
I mean, I probably would rather have Keller just because we had him in-house last year, and I saw what he was capable of doing, especially in incredibly high-leverage situations against the Padres, and the guy was huge. And look, there's two things going on. One, it's fair for me to say $11 million for Brad Keller is maybe a little too rich for my blood. But like that advent calendar where you're always opening up those little boxes and those chocolates, the advent calendar of relievers it's starting to get a little thin, right?
Yes.
And the only other thing that I would say is that I've heard reports that Pete Fairbanks would like a 3-year deal, the same way that Brad Keller got. Are the Cubs going to pony up and come to the table for a guy like Pete Fairbanks and get that? Because if he doesn't, then all of a sudden with this game of musical chairs and this run on relievers right now, there aren't too many seats left. And now you're looking at Phil Maton at $7.5 million. They announced Caleb Thielbar at $4.5 million. You got Daniel Palencia on the cheap. You got a lot of other pieces on the cheap. I'm just kind of curious, when Jed says pitching, that has to involve starting pitching and relievers, right? So where are you throwing your money into? We're going to get to the starters in a moment, but again, I think you would want another high-end reliever there, and I kind of put him into tiers a little bit. I think Pete Fairbanks is by far a tier 1 remaining reliever. And then after that, you got Sean Armstrong with the Rangers, Jacob Junis. You got Seranthony Domínguez with the Blue Jays last year, Ryan Stanek, who we mentioned yesterday, Kirby Yates, David Robinson. Both of those guys are older.
Yeah.
What does this bullpen look like, and can you close the margins a little bit on some certainty that got a little wobbly until he turned it around last year?
Edwin Diaz is gone. Helsley is gone. Devin Williams is gone. Suarez is gone. Right? Like, basically everybody's gone. The Cubs tried to get Helsley. They tried to get Williams. It didn't happen. They talked to Luke Weaver. Didn't happen.
Yep.
So now is it, okay, what deal is Kopech going to get? I'm not saying Kopech is the same as Brad Keller, but what deal will Kopech get? Is he going to get a 2 for $22?
No way.
No.
I don't think so.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, who is the fallback plan now? But you had just today, you had, in the last 24 hours, you had Romano to the Angels, you had Martin to the Rangers, you had Ferguson to the Reds, you had Foley to the Giants, Pomeranz to the Angels, 1 year, $4 million. Now, if you want to talk about one that got away, I would say that Keller has the potential to be that guy more than anybody out of the Cubs bullpen.
The most regret, right?
You could have the most regret on that if he turns out. And I guess Joel Sherman is saying, yep, he's going to be a reliever in Philadelphia. Okay, great. That's what he excelled at. That's what I would do too. I wouldn't have converted him necessarily to a starter. But Drew Pomeranz for $4 million, would that have been a gamble you would have been worth taking one more time? It's such an Angels move. It really is. It's such an Angels move.
Good for Drew Pomeranz. Good for Drew Pomeranz.
Yeah, there's very little risk there. $4 million for 1 year, Drew Pomeranz.
And let's be honest,
I still think you're more likely to regret Keller than you are Pomeranz.
And it's okay to be kind of cynical about it. Drew Pomeranz could be a Chicago Cub August 1st. If he's going to the Angels for $4 million and pitches well, and the Cubs are in it and they need reinforcements, you could easily see some type of deal of him landing back in an Angels uniform. That's the only acquisition, though, when you just ran down that list, though. The part that, again, continues to have the agita, the frustration build as a Cubs fan when you go through the list of all those teams are trying to win. All those teams are competitors of the Chicago Cubs in the National League, and all of them are incrementally getting better. The Cubs fan, I think a Cubs fan like myself and everyone else, we want to see some moves, not because we like the juice, not because we like the action, or we need Ricketts to spend the money. We know that there are areas where the Cubs need to get better. We know there are areas where the Cubs are losing guys and they need to supplement and replace them with reinforcements. And we're just asking ourselves, let's get in the race a little bit, and we want to have some news where the Cubs get better. I think Caleb Thielbar checks that box, but again, doesn't move the needle, if that makes sense.
No, I think you mentioned Stanek. That sounds like that's interesting to me. Kopech is interesting to me. Fairbanks is the most interesting to me. And then you have to start to wonder about, okay, what's the number? What if you say he's looking for 3 years? Let's just put the 3 years on there. I think that would be the part that scares away the Cubs more than anything, to be honest with you. But let's say somebody gives him 3 years, but he shaves a little bit off of because he wants the third year. Maybe he compromises a little bit. So as we go to break, I ask you this in the live YouTube chat, and I'll ask you this, and we'll answer it on the other side of a break. Pete Fairbanks, let's put the number at 3 years, $30 million. Mm-hmm. Are you willing? Will the number be over or under that? Will it be higher or lower than that? More or less than that? I ask you in the chat, and then Tell me what number you would be willing to give him, both years and money. Ask that as we head to break. This is the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Toyota-thon is on, and you should get your Toyota while the getting's good. Make your holiday season one that you and your crew will never forget. I need a new ride for the fam. Toyota's got so many options for me. Choices, 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 Joey. The good news is you can't go wrong with any Toyota.
It's true.
Score value on the versatile RAV4, America's #1 selling vehicle. I love some of the colors they've got right now. Storm Cloud with the midnight black metallic roof. Telling you, sick. And the Meteor Shower Black. Oh, that's nice too. You can ride with the Tacoma, their rugged weekend warrior. Bronze Oxide would be my choice there. I've always wanted to pick up, so people thought I was handy. Maybe I'd have some tools that I was using.
Rugged,
I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Or hit the road with Camrys available all-wheel drive on dry roads in the summer. It drives like a dream. In Chicago's ice, sleet, and snow, it drives like a fantasy. Talk dirty to me, baby. Red hot savings ready for you at Toyota-thon. Finish the year in style. They'll never let you down. Visit your Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
And 'tis the season right now to level up your collection of trading cards, and that's why we love Arena Club. It's the original slab pack. It's the thrill of ripping packs combined with the power to buy, sell, and trade in all in one place. Get authentic graded cards instantly on Arena Club. You decide, hold, sell, or have it shipped to you directly. You can decide to take that instant cash offer based on what that market value. One click, cash in. No guesswork. And with slab packs, you can rip a wide range of packs starting at $25 and up. Every pack has grails that are at least 20 times the price of the pack. Arena Club, the most trusted name in the game. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the pack with the likelihood of pulling each one so you know exactly what's available before you buy. And with every slab pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. So what are you waiting for? Right now, you get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/CHGO and use that code. Remember, CHGO Arena Club Slab Pack.
I just like to say slab pack.
Slab Pack.
Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. A couple of Toyota chats for us. We're talking about relievers in the first segment. Johnny Water Ice says maybe Seranthony Domínguez.
Yeah, look, a guy who Alex Cohen, who does great work over at the Marquee. He's name-checked him a couple times over the last couple of days or so. Interesting piece, right? A guy that started the year with the Orioles, came over in a trade to Toronto. When you watch the postseason, they used him very similar to Brad Keller, where he could come in an 8th inning. He can come in a 6th inning. He was an out-getter that can handle any situation and had a strong season. Pitched 67 games last year. The big one about Seranthony Domínguez, and this is a fun, kind of, again, a philosophical question of the Cubs seem to like guys that don't walk a lot of people. Seranthony Domínguez had a 13.8 walk percentage last year. I believe 36 walks in about 60 innings. So it's the question of, do the Cubs not like that, or do the Cubs think that they can fix that?
Yeah.
That would be the question that I would have with Domínguez. But a guy that had a strong season, a dude that's been a really solid reliever the last handful of years, and maybe a guy with some upside that you can get on a good deal. But again, the control issues were a concern for me.
All right, Michael Thiel also with a Toyota chat. He says Cubs got Keller, Pomeranz, and Ray for essentially nothing. They do this all the time with bullpen arms. Why spend big money or overspend to keep someone? That's why we ask. Is 2 for $22 million too much for Keller? I guess we'll find out this season. The Cubs are rolling the dice and saying, too rich for our blood.
Yeah.
He was great. He was great at the deal. He was a 5-star signing last year. But we're not going to do that now. We're going to take our win and walk away. It's like hitting big in Vegas on a table and then being like, okay, I'm leaving. Or going to the track and hitting on the first race and being like,
cashing out.
I'll take my $100 and I'm going home. I'm not going to place another 9 bets.
Yeah, look, and you'll have this conversation sometimes with NFL teams that think that they can just roll over the running back position every single year. And of all the things that I think we criticize or we disagree with when it comes to Jed Hoyer and how he constructs his team, the one that I'm probably the most amenable to and the one that I'm in the land of agreeing with him is that bullpens are really volatile.
Yeah.
And it's hard to trust on a year-to-year basis what you're going to get from said player. And it is a part of the cliche that a lot of relievers are failed starters. And I do believe that you can recreate it every single year. Now, I think it's got to be really taxing and exhausting. Personally, I wish that he would get into a little bit more certainty, at least on the back end. Maybe he's found something with Daniel Palencia where he is going to be that certain back of the game closer, whether it's the 8th or the 9th inning, moving forward for the next couple seasons. So I do wish that he would get a little bit more involved with spending some money to bring him a little bit more certainty. Maybe he's done that with Phil Maton. But personally, I really don't have a huge problem with him saying, you know what, I believe in our system. We can roll this over every single year. We know how to find value at this position for a really good price and get that production out of that value. And I think that's what you're seeing right now with the bullpen. Now, again, having said all that, Pete Fairbanks would be a guy at least that could stabilize it, and you could roll it over however you want to for the next handful of years, as long as you know those last 6 outs are covered with Palencia and a guy like Fairbanks.
So I said 3 for 30. Is the number going to be over or under that? And what would you do for that? Because in the live YouTube chat, Kevin Palmer says 3 years, $40 million for Fairbanks. I don't know if Kevin is saying that's the number he'll get or that's the number he'd be willing to pay for Fairbanks.
I think that number is closer to the number that he will get than the 3 for 30. Mm-hmm. If I was the Chicago Cubs, and clearly I'm not, but I would think if you could figure out a way to say, we're going to give you 3 years, the annual will maybe slightly decelerate throughout that course of that contract, and maybe even the 3rd year, there is either a team option or there is a player option. If there is a player option, that number would probably be under $10 million, in my opinion. So let's just play. If it was 3 for 40, let's just pretend that for a second. It would have to be the first 2 years are $15 million. The last year is $10 million. I still think that that's probably too much, right? I would try and do something along the lines of anywhere in that Ryan Helsley deal of the 12 to 14 for at least the first year or two, and then have a decelerant to it where maybe it's under $10 million. Provide him a player option to $8 million. If he wants to pick it up, great. That isn't something that the Chicago Cubs should shy away from. They did it with Hector Neris. They did it with Ryan Presley, 7.5 with Maton. I do think that he can be a productive player. He's only 31 years old. He throws 97 miles an hour. I don't think this is something where he could fall off the map, and that could be such an albatross of a contract. But 3 for 30, I think it will. I think it will go above that.
Michael's afraid of the K rate that's been dropping each year.
And the cold fingers, that has cold fingers. So just to be very fair, he does have a circulatory issue that when the weather is colder, that's supposedly a type of concern. But I'm not.
Wouldn't be pitching in Tampa. You'd be pitching at Wrigley.
Correct. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have enough information to make such a speculation of whether that should be a deterrent or not. But that is something that they've talked about before.
Okay. So here's my answer to it on Fairbanks, whether it's 3 for 30, 3 for 40, whatever it might be. The answer comes with the move that I still think will come prior to that. Are they getting a deal on Bregman? Seems unlikely still to me. Are they getting a deal for Imai? I think he can do 2 of the 3 financially. That's just my guess. Cubs and Yankees finalists for Tatsuya Imai, according to Francis Romero, who says 5 teams have talked about him, looked into him. He thinks that both the Cubs and Yankees are finalists. Doesn't say if there's any others in there, but still thinks that they're still in the mix. Okay, great. If Imai, whose deadline is early January to make a decision, if Imai says yes, then I think you still have the money for Fairbanks. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have the money for Bregman.
I agree.
So, and I'm fine with that, but I would like to get 2 out of 3. And so Fairbanks, could you get him ahead of time? Could you pay him that money ahead of time and then say, listen, then we have the money for Bregman or we have the money for Imai. And we know we're going to be a little bit short at the bat or we're going to be a little bit short in the rotation. We've shored up 2 of the 3 things. The bullpen has been rebuilt, and we hope that we have enough certainty that we've put into it with some names that we didn't look at. Or do you look at it and say, all right, you wait for Imai's decision. But when Imai makes his decision, what happens? Like, if you don't get him, what happens? And so it's our Taking the Temp segment. Your trusted local experts, 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit 4seasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money savings coupons. That's 4seasonsheatingcooling.com. where does the Imai decision come into play for the Cubs offseason? Obviously, it's a big one. Obviously, where there's smoke, there's fire. They definitely are interested in the guy. They definitely would like to sign him, but would they like to have him more than they would like to have Bregman? Would they like to have him more than they would like to have Fairbanks? Would they like to have, go down the list, Kopech, whoever I've mentioned. My guess is he's probably option number one at the top of the list right now. Yeah, that's just my guess.
That's what I was going to follow up with.
I think he's
who
probably
are the Cubs
top
maybe
of the list.
waiting on with their offer? Is it Imai, or are they waiting on Bregman's offer, and then all these other moves begin to matriculate down? I think it's fair to say if the Cubs really wanted to, they could go out and sign Pete Fairbanks today, because it's clearly the less money on the AAV of all three of the players in question.
So
but I think that they're probably waiting on. You're right. If it's Imai and it's $180 to $200 million.
If it's Imai and only Imai, then they're probably waiting on Imai.
Correct. Yes. And yeah, right. And as a Cubs fan, you're in the position now where you're asking yourself the question, to Luke's thing, of would you rather have Imai, Fairbanks, and let's say no hitter? Would you rather have
Imai, Kopech?
Yeah,
and no hitter.
Right. Or what I was going to say, Bregman, Fairbanks, and then the lower end of a Zach Gallen, or who knows what it ends up being, Chris Bassett, Nick Martinez, whatever it is.
Would that float your boat? Gallen, right. Fairbanks, and some other hitter.
Right. And if we get our dreams of Imai and Bregman, no way we're getting Fairbanks, right? Then you get into Stanek, Kopech world, right? And I think that's probably the door that I would open. I would probably open the door to. I still
think that might be too rich.
I think so too.
I'm afraid that's going to be too rich.
Because if you look at reports right now of Bregman wants 5 years, $175 million. That's where that's at.
You're not getting both.
Which is
they're not going to do that.
I know. That's when it gets really tough for me, right? Let's just pretend for a second that the Cubs signed Alex Bregman to a 5-year, $175 million. That means, one, they paid $55 million after making an offer of $120 the year prior to a player that's 1 year older, and now they're paying $25 million to that same player when Kyle Schwarber made $25 million less on the deal. I just don't think that's happening, right? And I think if you're saying who gets more money, Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman, I think it's still Bo Bichette. So I think that there's a waiting game going on right now in terms of the Bregman decision and the Imai decision. And I think the Cubs are probably waiting on that Imai call first and foremost, and then everything else. That decision will inform how else they attack everything else. There's a reason why they're interested on a bunch of players right now, because they probably have a lot of different scenarios that they might want to try and execute depending on what these decisions look like.
Imai and Gallen are both Boris guys, Rick?
Yes.
I believe so. And so
yes,
when we had the Gallen talk come out, one scenario you could look behind the curtain a little bit and you could see as being a possibility what went on with that when Bob Nightingale was like, they're finalizing a deal. And then it was, we're not finalizing a deal. Is that the agent in some way or form said, listen, we feel like if Imai doesn't sign with the Cubs, they basically told us Gallen gets this, and he's happy with that deal. But they're waiting to see if Imai does that, and I'm running both deals, and so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
He hasn't been as negative, by the way, Boris, about the Cubs this offseason as he had in the past, where he's like, why aren't they spending? I haven't heard that nearly as much this offseason.
Either he wants to use it to his advantage, or he wants the Cubs to play ball, and he thinks that's a spot where he can get the money for his clients. The one that we have to break in a minute here, so maybe it's for the other side, is Luke, the Diamondbacks suddenly entering the conversation with Alex Bregman. Should that scare you as a Cubs fan? Because let's be honest, Boris got that money for Corbin Burns with the Diamondbacks when no one really saw that one coming. That one came out of nowhere. So the Diamondbacks suddenly entering the chat isn't something to be taken lightly. I think that's something to be taken fairly seriously. And there's a lot of dominoes between Ketel Marte getting traded to Boston, Boris's Bregman client may be going to Arizona. Where do the Cubs fit into all this? So that just added a further little knot in the Christmas lights tree. You know what I mean? That big ball of Christmas lights.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Cubs are dealing with right now, and they have to kind of untangle it and hopefully wrap it around a beautiful tree that's going to win 90-plus games.
All right, I'll ask this question as we head to break. Imai or Bregman? Who's your number one on your list? And then I have a scenario of a little, an interesting infield scenario.
Ooh.
That's coming up on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota.
Hey, Cubs fans, after the holidays, it's never too early to start thinking about and talking about your next weekend escape or maybe your next big night out, because Potawatomi Casino Hotel in Milwaukee has everything you need in one spot. We're talking thousands of the latest slots and table games. Are you ready to refuel? You've got a ton of amazing restaurants and bars to choose from. Whether you're feeling fancy or just want a quick bite, they've got you covered. You don't even have to leave the property. Stay in style at their luxury hotel, just steps away from what many call the Midwest's best sports book. And hey, Bulls fans, you heading to that Bucks game this winter? Let's go. The place to do, start your day and night at Potawatomi, hit the sportsbook, and then head out to the game. It's all right there, super convenient. Milwaukee's got a full winter lineup. It's not just sports, concerts, festivals, sports, you name it. Potawatomi is the perfect place, and it's the home base for all of the great action. It's the Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. Your win is waiting right now, so go check it out.
Oh, from handcrafted steaks to delicious favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. You could be a star at the holidays. Stock your freezer and then let it carry into 2026. Enjoy USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. Right now, during their Red Hot sales event, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with the promo code Cubs, C-U-B-S. You don't even need a grill for this stuff. I'm telling you, Joe. I love to reverse sear the triple trimmed fillets low and slow at like 200, 275 in the oven. Then let it rest. When you're about 15 minutes or 15 degrees away from being fully cooked, then you hit it with the high sear for 1 minute. Trust me, works every time. Heartland quality food, every steak perfectly aged. Don't forget the apple tartlets and the halibut. Visit Omaha Steaks for 50% off site-wide. Promo code Cubs. Promo code Cubs for an extra $35 off. So I asked the question, Imai or Bregman? Have we come to that point now as our top choice and which one you'd rather have? Johnny Water Ice says, don't want to taint anybody's expectations. I don't think they're signing either one. I think that's very possible. And that's what really concerns me about this offseason is if those two names come off the table, now where are the Cubs pivoting to? Where are the Cubs really going to improve their team other than just young guys? Yeah. Like, how can they actually make an impact this offseason? They've added 3 middle relievers. What's the other big move? Obviously, a starting pitcher has to come. I guess it's Gallen. That's the answer to that. But, like, I teased the infield thing, and only because I read that Bo Bichette is now telling teams be open to playing second base. So first the question was, would Bo Bichette be willing to play third base? I don't know if we ever got a clear answer on that. He's a shortstop, currently not as good as defensively as Dansby, that's for sure.
Yes.
I don't know that he's as good defensively as Nico at short, but he provides this offense with an outlier of a bad year with some injuries that says, oh, that could be a pretty high-end move. So I look at it and say, okay, what are the names that are out there that could be moving chess pieces in the next month and a half, right? You've got Ketel Marte, you've got Bo Bichette, you've got Bregman in a different way, and you might have Nico or Shaw. Like I see 5 names that could move around there. Which ones are the most likely to stay with the Cubs? My guess is I would say the most likely to be on the Cubs when the season starts would be Shaw and Horner. Yeah, I still think that's the most likely. But are there pieces out there that are moving around with other teams that all of a sudden Jed and Carter could look at it and say, well, we didn't get Imai, we didn't get Bregman, but we could move this piece and we could move that piece, and we feel like we've made one of those incremental moves, and the money's not that different because we've moved some of the other stuff around.
Right. The only thing that would be slightly disappointing about that is, at the very least, you can't take away from Jed has a 3-year track record, beginning with bringing in Cody Bellinger once, bringing Cody Bellinger back again, and then replacing Cody Bellinger with Kyle Tucker. 3 years in a row, he's brought in what I would now they're left-handed power hitters. I get all that, but I'm not going to split hairs on that one. That they've brought in an established professional hitter that has a high chance of hitting you 25 plus home runs and at least giving you an 800 plus OPS. So I would like to at least stick with the hope and the mantra that is going to be replaced in some kind of form. You mentioned 5 players. I think it's also coming down to the 5 teams, right? And I think the teams are the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. Depending on what a single team does, I think affects all 4 of them. For example, Ketel Marte, second baseman on the Arizona Diamondbacks, could possibly be traded to the Boston Red Sox, which would take them probably out of the Bregman or maybe even the Bo Bichette sweepstakes. Those 2 guys now may be scattered to the other teams that are available. Bregman
all dominoes.
Yeah, Bregman signs with the Diamondbacks. That changes the calculus of where things go. Tucker possibly with the Blue Jays. Bellinger possibly with the Yankees. These are all all these backup plans that are happening. And thankfully, the Cubs are kind of sitting in there, and hopefully that they are going to make some type of move, right? And then, of course, right, and I mentioned the Yankees also because Imai and the Cubs, apparently, according to Jim Bowden, are the 2 finalists right now for his services in the 2026 season. So it's just so weird. There is a bit of a staring contest going on right now. I do think with all of those teams, every single one of them, except for maybe the Blue Jays that have already done some heavy lifting, all 4 of those teams, I think, are a little bit more reticent to spend big money. But who's going to do it first? Because I think once one of those moves or one of those teams act, I think the other ones are going to all act in concert and in turn. And that's what I'm kind of curious to see. And look, I think the Cubs are in it. I just don't think the Cubs are leading the charge of like, you know what? We're just going to go get who we want.
No, I agree.
No, they are not doing that at all. The Red Sox aren't doing that at all. Maybe the Diamondbacks are. Maybe the Diamondbacks are the one that breaks open this dam to have all these deals get done. And the only part that I'll finish on this is when you talk about Bo Bichette is I certainly would hope that if the Cubs lose out on Bregman, and let's say he goes to the Diamondbacks, let's say he goes to the Boston Red Sox, I don't understand why the Cubs can't get involved in the Bo Bichette sweepstakes. He's 27 years old. You just mentioned he's willing to play shortstop, third base, or second base. At what quality? I'm not so sure, but we'll find out. At least he provides that versatility. And if you're talking about a team that's about to roll over its payroll, when you talk about a team that, in the next couple of years has a decision to make on Nico Horner and in 2 or 3 years have a decision to make on Dansby Swanson, Bo Bichette feels like he could be a core player that you could pair with Pete Crow Armstrong. And if you're in love with Owen Casey or you want to stick with Matt Shaw, he could be a part of that core moving forward.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which is the big move that triggers the fall of all the dominoes.
Yes.
Right? Like,
who's it going to be?
Well, we just saw it, and we just saw it in the bullpen stuff. All of a sudden, Diaz was off, and then the big names were off, and then all of a sudden the
Schwarber
Cubs
goes, Alonso goes. It's all in concert.
Big names started to go, whether it's a pitcher or a hitter. But then some of the relievers started to go, and all of a sudden the Cubs signed Thielbar, and then there's like 8 relievers signed in a row. Bang, 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 bang. I'm not saying it's going to be like that, but what move would happen for the position players that will now start to make that happen? And another one, we're just sitting and waiting and saying, well, where's that going to happen? Is it going to be the Bichette move that does it? Maybe. Is it going to be the Bregman move that does it? Maybe. Is it going to be the Ketel Marte trade that happens? Maybe. Or is it going to be finally Kyle Tucker? What is going on with Kyle Tucker? What kind of deal will he get? And why is it taking this long for Tucker to sign? It sort of feels like, I think you said maybe even yesterday, sort of feels like Bellinger. Like, could it all of a sudden it fall to like the last minute and all of a sudden it comes into a very Cub-like, I never thought there was any chance he's coming back to the Cubs, but the longer he sits out on the market, even though I don't think the relationship was good, will somebody, maybe not the Cubs, will somebody get a deal for Tucker? Like, if he's holding out for $450 million, I don't think that's coming. I really don't. There's been enough big name guys off the market now where I find it odd that one of those same teams be like, for instance, the Blue Jays have made enough moves, and I know they say they're in on Kyle Tucker, but are they going to give him $450 million?
They've done a lot of stuff, and Anthony Santander is also going to be in the mix, a guy they gave $90 million to the year before. I'm not saying he's the quality player of Kyle Tucker, but they're counting on him perhaps being a bounce-back piece in their outfield DH.
How many teams like the Dodgers are just sitting there saying, we'll let everybody do their business, and then we'll go get Tucker? Or are teams soured on Tucker's finish last year? Are they soured on the last 2 years of inconsistency and injuries? Even though when he's healthy, he is a great baseball player. But you hear other whispers about drive and all this other stuff. I don't know what part of it's true. All as I know is the fan base at Wrigley went from extend Tucker, extend Tucker, extend Tucker to heavy booing when he was at the ballpark at Wrigley Field. Did other teams notice that and say, well, 400, that seems like a lot?
Yeah, there's a gentleman in the New York Yankees baseball sphere, and forgive me, I'm blanking on his name, that came out and went a little viral about questioning Kyle Tucker's passion and burn to play the game and all the little stuff that we've been, because you can't go too deep into it because we don't know the guy, but we've been trying to sort of unlock what is the Rubik's Cube that is Kyle Tucker. He's a quiet guy. The personality and stuff, does it fit? Was he a fit? Did the Cubs like him? Did they get along? All that stuff that we did also with Sam Olber on Locked On Cubs.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm confused, right? I think is he getting $400 million from the Blue Jays? And if he is, why hasn't it happened already? And are you also telling me that Dylan Cease is signing for 210, cough, maybe it's more 185. Imai's getting 180 to 200. Kyle Schwarber gets 150. Pete Alonso gets 155. Are you really telling me that Kyle Tucker is worth twice the amount of all of those players, even if he is 29 in the prime of his career, and when he is healthy, he's a very good baseball player? I just also, the part about it, when you mentioned the Dodgers, I will just say this, that there will be an element of shame on you, Cubs, if he literally signs a short-term deal with a high AAV that's just pumped full of opt-outs. And I personally don't even care if it's the Dodgers, because if you're telling me all summer long, sign King Tuck, extend Tucker, 300, 400, 500, whatever it is, make it happen. The Cubs are going to first time not only have a $200 million player, but for the first time have a $300, $400 million player under contract. And then you're telling me he signs a 3-year deal for what, $140 million? That's right up the Cubs alley. That's literally
right unbelievable.
Up the Cubs alley. And you're telling me that you don't even have a conversation because of either how you feel about the player or whatever happened communication-wise last year. There's going to be some regret there. And I'm just so curious that we having this conversation about all these guys and these dominoes. He's separate, right? He's very, very much separate of this, other than maybe Tucker signs and then Bellinger probably figures out where he lands.
I agree with Corey and Michael in the chat, Corey and Carter in the chat. Basically, it was Joel Sherman that talked about, I'm not ready.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
I'm not
clarifying.
ready to go there on the drive because I don't know. He doesn't show emotion very much. He did at the end when he slammed his helmet down, but he's very Kyle Hendricks. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's just not that. He's not Wilson Contreras. They're the opposite player. One shows tons of emotion, the other one shows no emotion. Doesn't mean anything else for me than that. Players in front offices, guys in the clubhouse would know what the drive was. They would know what the work ethic was more than anything. And when I look at it and I think about him, gosh, I don't know what the answer is going to be with Tucker. I don't know. I can't figure it out why he's still sitting there.
Yeah.
And I know Michael Collada, the Godfather, is talking about, listen, Ricketts is never going to sign big money guys, but the guys we're talking about, we're not talking about Bentleys. We're not talking, Godfather, the players we've talked about today, we're not talking about Bentleys outside of Tucker. I don't even think they're thinking about Tucker. We're talking about nice Acuras. That's what we're talking about.
This isn't Trey Turner, $300 million.
Yes. But it is not a Bentley. We're talking about expensive, high-end luxury vehicle, but not just a regular player, not a Bentley, right?
We are literally
We're
like
talking
operating
about a nice car that you can depend on.
We're
hopefully.
operating in the mid-range that, frankly, I think that they want Cubs fans to think about rationally and realistically. That is where we are operating. We're not talking about Trey Turner for $300 million. It's not Yamamoto at $325, and I'm damn sure it's not Vlad Guerrero at $500. We're talking about guys. They're going to sign deals between $150 to $180-ish million, and if it's $180, they'll become the most, the highest paid player, whatever, in Cubs history. It's not even a $200 million player. So
Right. I hear you.
Can't go like this. There's a middle area that we're trying to work through here, but we're trying.
We got to take a quick break on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. When we come back, we'll talk about the Cubs Hall of Fame nominees. This is the season for savings at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake with hot deals all month long on their year-end sales event. Our buddy Ray Scarpelli is going to take care of you just like he takes care of us. Stop in today. Drive home with $0 down and 0 payments until March on all new Chevrolet models. Or you can check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. And with one of the area's largest Chevy inventories, you're going to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they keep their prices competitive. Plus, with Ray's Price Promise, you know you're getting a good deal. Confident because the price you see is the price you pay. Go see for yourself. Visit our partner at their convenient location on Route 12 in Fox Lake. Don't miss out on their year-end sales event going on all month long for $0 down, 0 payments until March on all new Chevrolet models. Right now I'm going Tahoe Suburban for the fam. Tahoe Suburban for the fam. Tough call. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
And whether it comes to sports or concerts or whatever, it's harder and harder to find a good deal these days. And thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Look, incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust. You'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. And my favorite part, the fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. When you go to the checkout, that price I want to buy, that's the price you're going to pay. They've got amazing zone deals, so you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. And also snag new ticket deals before anyone finds out by following your favorite teams in the Game Time app to receive alerts. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and they also have Game Time ticket coverage. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets or concerts with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Remember, create an account, redeem CHGO, $20 off. It is the deal of the year.
Couple things we want to tell you about before we get back to the Cubs conversation. One is we got some new hats in the merch store.
They're lovely.
Sick drip, as I like to call it. 4 new styles that just came out. One looks like, call it the Admiral.
Sarah's got one of them.
Sarah's running with the one that is the white top, black bill today.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. That's a adjustable.
Oh, yeah, classic.
Very nice.
Really nice. Great fitting.
The Blackhawks one is cool. The Bulls one is very cool. Like both of those. Now, again, when you become a diehard, there's discounts on merch like that. And you also get a free shirt when you sign up to be a diehard. Great time to be a diehard because you also get the access to Adam John's articles, all the stuff that's going on with the Bears right now.
Yeah,
Jared Willis when he writes for us.
Of all the years to get behind the scenes access
the
right now
of the
to the Bears.
Yeah. But it also gets you access and discounts on activities, right? Mm-hmm. Like what, Sarah? Like the tailgate.
And not only is this a tailgate for this Saturday, it is a Bears-Packers tailgate this Saturday.
I have a prediction. Now, we had the tailgate when it was Bears-Packers early. Was it the first game of the season when it was Justin Fields against Jordan Love? And people were saying, we finally got the advantage at quarterback. This is the year. And it didn't happen, and I've never seen more disappointment in Bears fans. That was a highly attended Bears tailgate. They have been ramping, even though the temperature has been getting colder, the Bears tailgates have been ramping up.
We are
already. Where are we at for this one?
We are already over 100 tickets sold for just our CHGO tailgate. Obviously, we're in a very big lot. There's multiple tailgates going on. We are expecting over 200 people to be at our CHGO tailgate.
At the CHGO
and that just means we're going to make sure there's more beer and more food. So do not worry about the numbers.
I'm personally in charge of making sure at the tailgates that the beer and the drinks are stocked up and
correct.
And a barbecue.
That's the Firewater. Shout out Firewater Barbecue.
Firewater, baby.
Firewater Barbecue. Be ready
Great
to roll.
mac
It's going to be in the afternoon.
It's going to be warm. It's not going to be freezing this time. Anybody that went to the one last weekend, well, we gave them a tent. That was very nice. But this one is going to be so much more comfortable. And this is the biggest Bears game. For me, this is the biggest Bears game since Double Doink. Right now.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is the last Bears game I covered as a reporter. Double Doink.
Really?
Yeah, I covered the Double Doinker. And then I haven't covered one since as an actual, news reporter.
Oh, man. We might need
Double Doink. I was the...
kind of need to get you back out there, though.
You probably should. You should probably bench Carm for a week is all I'm saying. But I had some wins there. I had some wins, but I was there for the NFC Championship loss to the Packers, and I was there for the Double Doink. So you may not want me there in the playoffs as much.
I mean, yeah, let's just get in and then we'll deploy you just at the right time.
At the right time.
Yeah, you're like an ace up.
Bench Carm and his harmonica.
Carm's there. Yeah, Carm's there. Just doing a little set.
He's on the other side of the building.
A little set in the corner. But no, yeah, the tailgate is going to be incredible. Not to speak in past tense, but this season has been interesting as in the weather, as you'd mentioned. The weather has been rough. We got pelted with rain 1 week. It's been incredibly cold this past week.
But
the regulars keep showing up, and now if you want to join them this weekend, the weather's going to be really nice, and it's going to be sunny, and it's going to be packed. If you want to yell Green Bay sucks, if you want to high five Bears fans, you want to have some great barbecue, and want to hang out with me and Sarah, come on down.
It's going to be a good time. Guarantee it. And I think, I'll go on record. The Bears are going to win. Bears are going to win.
I feel good about
because
this.
Parsons is out. The Bears are going to win.
No, I feel good about this matchup.
This is it. Today's the time where it turns.
Yeah, I picked them to lose in Lambeau and then split this one.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of a maturation or a curve with Caleb Williams, I think getting one over on the Packers after losing one, I think it can be instructive.
And then they're going to beat that butt in the playoffs, too.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to face them in the playoffs and beat them.
Yeah, most likely. Honestly, whoever wins.
That's right.
Yeah.
2 out of 3. That's how it's going to go down. All right. Cubs Hall of Fame ballot for this year. I saw Bruce Levine talking about it on Marquee. Lester and Zobrist are both on the ballot. Honestly, I don't know who else is on the ballot. It doesn't really matter. If these two guys don't go in first ballot Cubs Hall of Famers, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing. If John Lester doesn't get in, a unanimous vote from the people that do it. I know there's some really smart people on there. I think Sully's in on it. I think Dan Roan, WGN legend, is on the list. If Lester doesn't get in on a unanimous vote, I'll be floored.
Yes.
If Zobrist, a World Series MVP, doesn't get in on the first vote, I will be floored. So all I'm saying is start to put the pressure on. Mikey, what are you talking about? Zobrist, not enough years. He was the MVP of the World Series that ended the drought. He was one of the great free agent signings of Theo Epstein. Great. Did everything he could have done for the Cubs. And when it came to Game 7, was there a bigger hit than Ben Zobrist?
No.
The answer's no. He's got to be there right now. I'd give the guy a statue if I could.
Yeah, and look, I think what's important about this is we can have some nuance between Baseball Hall of Fame and Cubs Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
in
Cooperstown.
This sense where I think Mike Taylor Sound is just saying not enough years as in he doesn't have enough accumulative stats to deserve to be in the Hall with the Cubs. But when we talk about impact, right? When we talk about importance, and when you say World Series MVP with the Chicago Cubs, that means most valuable, most impactful, and perhaps one of the more important pieces to the Chicago Cubs and their history and their legacy. You cannot tell the story of the 2016 Cubs without mentioning Ben Zobrist. We don't get there unless Miggy hits that grand slam. Does he get it? Does he get first
Mike
ballot?
No, he wasn't the MVP of the World Series.
Okay, name me wrong, 5 more moments.
I love Miggy.
Yeah, but okay.
Addison Russell's not going in either. Ben Zobrist is everything you wanted out of a free agent signing. John Lester is like the free agent signing, maybe the best one in Chicago sports history. Okay? Lester is in and Zobrist is in. There is no bigger series than the Cubs versus Cleveland to end 108, and he was the best player in that series.
And I think
I don't care. Like Sean Dunston, Sean Dunston was one of my favorite players of all time.
Sure.
Loved it. He was one of the first guys that slid head first that I watched playing for the Cubs. So I love the dirty jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cannon arm. He's got way more time as a Cub. I understand that. He was the only number 1 pick of the Cubs, right? First overall pick. The last time the Cubs or somebody in Chicago had the number 1 pick, it was Sean Dunston. I love Dunston. But if I had to choose today between Ben Zobrist or Sean Dunston, even though Sean Dunston is more of a Cub in his career, Zobrist was the MVP of the World Series. It's not even a consideration for me. And I love Sean Dunston.
Right.
And in this case, they can both be in.
And well,
that's the beauty of it. What are we holding people out of the Cubs Hall of Fame for?
That's the part that I'm kind of like getting confused on. This is an opportunity to celebrate the most impactful and known names in Cubs history. It's about acknowledging that history and celebrating it. It isn't about trying to cut some sort of line of demarcation really between, well, you didn't hit 500 home runs, so he doesn't get in. And with the chat right here, I think maybe we can end on this is just, let's do, just from the 2016 team, right? Who do you think is going to be in at least consideration for this Hall of Fame at some point in their lifetime, right?
Hendricks is in, Lester is in, Zobrist is in, Rizzo is in.
KB.
Michael, I just could not. I agree with you many, many times. You don't think Chris Bryant deserves to be in the Cubs Hall of Fame?
What about Jake Arrieta?
He was elite.
Are we putting in Carlos Zambrano before we're putting in Jake Arrieta because Zambrano pitched for longer?
Arrieta is in. Chris Bryant is in. Joe Madden is in. They're all in. It's the Cubs Hall of Fame. First of all, the actual Hall of Fame is such a joke that I don't even care about it most of the time. We have a chance to do what's right by Cubs players. Like,
the other part about it, too, is that, like, literally, if you go back over the last 35 years, without that 2016 team, you're kind of having a hard time finding Hall of Fame nominees from these Cubs teams, right?
Strop is not in the Cubs Hall of Fame.
You got, who we putting in? John Lieber or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we got Derek Lee. There's Ramos Ramirez. There's Sammy Sosa. And if I'm blanking on somebody, let me know. But over the last 35 years, Maddox.
Mark Grace.
35 years. Okay, that's 5 guys. Is there anyone really else that's really driving the sleigh towards getting into the Cubs Hall of Fame?
Lee Smith, like the Hall of Famers are obviously going to be on the list, but like, no, Jason Hamill helped. Yes, I understand that. Jason Hamill is not Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant was the MVP.
You just made
the league MVP.
Helped.
What are we talking about?
We don't win the World Series without Ben Zobrist. Jason Hamill wasn't even on the postseason roster.
Chef Kevin, you're right, man. It is amazing that after 2016, you look at the list and you say, none of them are probably going to make Cooperstown. I would say, hold on about Kyle Schwarber.
Yes.
the one guy they let walk away for nothing might be the guy that ends up in the Hall of Fame. I could make an argument for Lester.
Oh, boy, that would have been a segment back in the day of which one between KB and Rizzo could they make the Hall of Fame? Can they get it? And yeah, maybe that's where people are having a little bit of some hesitancy about like they didn't get in because, you know, it sort of flamed out for a bunch of different kinds of reasons. But at the same time, like, do not mistake that team was absolutely incredible. And when you talk about young Cubby core right now, that was young Cubby core times like 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys were the best. KB won an MVP. Ben Zobrist was an MVP in the World Series. Was an all-star. Hit over 400.
I think it's easier to talk about the guys from 2016 that won't get into the Cubs Hall of Fame when it's all said and done because the list is going to be so great. It's why we talk about the trophy and say, They can't just have a trophy or a statue for each guy in Gallagher Way, because then there won't be any free grass.
Yes.
Right? But you could do a statue of a bunch of guys, kind of like the White Sox did for theirs.
Yeah.
It's easier to say, listen, I don't think Wilson Contreras is going to be a Cubs Hall of Famer. I don't. And I don't think Addison Russell's going to be a Cubs Hall of Famer. And I don't think John Lackey is going to be a Cubs Hall of Famer. Nope. It doesn't mean they didn't contribute. I don't think Miggy's going to be a Cubs Hall of Famer. He hit some of the biggest, if you put top 10 biggest hits in that run, he's obviously on that list. But I don't think he's a Cubs Hall of Famer. That doesn't mean I value him less than some other guys, but he's not Ben Zobrist. Ben Zobrist was the MVP of the World Series. That's like having the diehard card and throwing it down on the ground and saying, here goes. Here's my diehard card.
Last one, Dexter Fowler.
He's close. He's right there.
Now that's
you go,
probably that's maybe where I'm cutting off the line. I've got really close, but
he's going to be a real
maybe
close
not quite.
Anyways, we could debate that for hours, but I'm getting a little angry and a little frustrated.
Yeah, that's a little fired. I'm sorry, Mickey Montero's not going to the Cubs Hall of Fame.
Okay,
breaking news.
Corey and Brendan on Thursday.
Yes.
With Cubs related. If there is breaking news, like big breaking news, we will have an emergency podcast.
We will.
Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday. Until then, thanks for watching the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. Thanks to everybody who watched, commented, listened. We appreciate you. Until then, till the next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.